Calyx and corolla are called accessory whorls because they indirectly take part in the process of reproduction. What are the types of estivation? What is estivation? It is the pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals with respect to each other. Monoadelphous means all the stamens are united to form one bundle. Diadelphous means the stamens are united to form two bundles. What are the types of estivation? First one is called valvate estivation, second one is called twisted estivation, third one is called imbricate estivation, and the fourth one is called vexillary estivation. Hello dear students, welcome back to session 10 of this very important chapter called Morphology of Flowering Plants. Hope you remember in the last session we studied about what is a flower, what are the parts of a flower, when is a flower called as a complete flower, when a flower is called as an incomplete flower, and also we studied about the position of the ovary. Moving on to the remaining concepts of the same chapter called Morphology of Flowering Plants. Moving on to the accessory whorls. Hope you remember the parts of a flower. That is, here we can see the parts of a flower are, here you can see the calyx, corolla, this is the stamens and the ovary. So, flower has, as you all know, four very important whorls. One is called calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Here these two are called as accessory whorls, or they are also called as non-essential whorls, whereas these two are called essential whorls, or they are also called as reproductive whorls. Hope you remember in the last class we studied about the four whorls of a flower, or the four very important parts of a flower. One is called calyx, the units of calyx is called sepals. Second one is called corolla, the units of corolla is called petals. And third one, that is androecium, the male reproductive part of a flower, and the units of androecium is called stamens. And gynoecium, the female reproductive part of a flower, and the units of gynoecium is called carpels. Here, calyx and corolla are called accessory whorls, or they are otherwise called non-essential whorls, whereas androecium and gynoecium are called essential whorls, or also they are called as reproductive whorls. Why these two are called as accessory whorls or non-essential whorls? They do not take part in the process of reproduction directly. So indirectly they help the process of reproduction. All of us know that the bud is protected by what? By the calyx. Corolla attracts the insects for pollination. So both are very, very indirectly helping the process of reproduction. Whereas androecium is the male reproductive organ and gynoecium is the female reproductive organ or the structure which is going to take part directly in the process of reproduction. Hence, these two are called accessory whorls or non-essential whorls, and androecium and gynoecium are called essential whorls because they are going to directly take part in the process of reproduction, or they are otherwise called reproductive whorls as they are the main reproductive structures. So here the accessory whorls of a flower are calyx and corolla. Calyx and corolla. So based on that, let us understand what is homochlamydious and what is hetero. Homo means what? Similar. So a flower in which both calyx and corolla are undifferentiated. You are not able to distinguish. You are not able to distinguish, that is calyx from corolla. So that condition is called what? Homochlamydious. Example, coconut Annona squamosa. When you are able to differentiate the calyx and corolla separately, here you can see, here this is calyx and this is corolla, petals. So easily you can differentiate the calyx from corolla, and that condition is called heterochlamydious. A flower in which calyx and corolla are differentiated. For example, all of you know about hibiscus. and even tribulus, etc., where you can easily differentiate the calyx from the corolla. I repeat, calyx and corolla are called accessory whorls because they indirectly take part in the process of reproduction. When you are not able to distinguish calyx and corolla, they are clubbed together. We use a word called homochlamydious. What are the examples you take? Coconut and Annona squamosa. What do you mean by heterochlamydious? When you are not able to distinguish calyx and corolla, we are able to distinguish the calyx from corolla, it is called heterochlamydious. You are able to differentiate, distinguish the calyx from corolla, that this is calyx, this is corolla, and that condition is called heterochlamydious. Example, hibiscus and what do you call it as tribulus. Here achlamydious, in which calyx and corolla are absent. A means what? Without. Homo, not differentiable. Then heterochlamydious, you are able to differentiate the calyx and corolla. Achlamydious, first of all, calyx and corolla are absent. Example, euphorbia, and you can also come across in Cisalpina pulcherrima. Cisalpina pulcherrima. One more example. One is euphorbia, the other one is Cisalpina pulcherrima. Hope you have understood what is homochlamydious and what is heterochlamydious. So, hope you have understood what are the accessory whorls, what is homochlamydious, where you are not able to distinguish calyx from corolla. What do you mean by heterochlamydious? You are able to distinguish calyx from corolla. What do you mean by achlamydious? You are not able to distinguish the calyx from the corolla. Means, first of all, there is absence of calyx and corolla. You use the word called achlamydious. Here you can see the parts of a flower. Here you can see the pedicel. The stalk of a flower is called as pedicel, and the cup-like structure is called receptacle. And this is calyx. The units of calyx are called sepals, and this is corolla. The units of corolla is called petals. Here you can see the ovary with the ovules, and you can see the filament and with the anther lobe, and you can see the style with stigma. So this is the male reproductive part of a flower. This is female reproductive part. This is female, that is gynoecium, and this is what? This is male reproductive part of a flower. Moving on to the parts of a flower. Calyx. Calyx is a very important. As I said, calyx, the units are called as sepals. You know what role? Here you can see the calyx. Here you can see the calyx. All of us know when the flower is in a bud condition, what is that which protects the flower? As we all know that flower is a very important part of a plant body which takes part in sexual reproduction because it contains androecium and gynoecium. So the flower is a very important part of a plant body, and when it is in the bud condition, it is protected over by a leafy like structure called calyx, and the units are called as what? Sepals. Right. Now, calyx, as I said, it is one of the accessory whorl. So, calyx, the calyx forms the first and outermost whorl of a flower. So, when we come across, first calyx comes, then corolla comes, then androecium, then gynoecium. So, this is the outermost. Which is the innermost? Gynoecium is the innermost. So calyx forms the outermost whorl of a flower, and the components of calyx are called as what? Sepals. And very important is, and what is the symbol you are going to write for calyx? K. For corolla, C. Androecium, A. Gynoecium, G. When the sepals are not fused, they are free. When the sepals are free, we use a word called gamosepalous. We use the word called gamosepalous, and we write K. For example, 5 sepals are there and they are fused. We call it as gamosepalous. When the sepals are free, we use a word called polysepalous. I repeat, when the sepals are fused, not free, we call it as gamosepalous. When the sepals are free, that means they are not united. Then here we write K5, here we write K just 5. So if you put a bracket, it is an indication that the sepals or the petals are fused. If you don't put a bracket, then it is understood that the sepals or petals are free. They are not united, they are not fused. You have to remember this very, very important points or symbols, because when you write the floral formula, it is very, very important. So corolla. Same way, like for example, I said when the sepals are fused, we use a word called gamosepalous. Like for example, here we can see that in some, the sepals in Tridactes and Vernonia are modified into a number of hairy structures called pappus. Then as I said, when the sepals are free, we use a word called polysepalous. When the sepals are fused, we use a word called gamosepalous. So what is the symbol for calyx? What is calyx? Calyx is the outermost whorl of a flower, and the units of calyx are called sepals. When the sepals are fused, we use a word called gamosepalous. Here when the sepals are fused. Here when the sepals are free, we use a word called polysepalous. So K is the symbol for calyx, and if you put a bracket, it is understood that the sepals are fused. If you don't put a bracket, what is it understood? It is understood that the sepals are not fused. These are the terms which you should understand. Moving on to the next very important whorl of a flower called corolla. Here you can see the beautiful picture of a flower, and this is called corolla, and the units are called petals. So corolla is the second whorl of a flower. Which is the first whorl of a flower? As I said, the first whorl of a flower is calyx. The second whorl of a flower is petals, that is corolla, and the units of corolla is called petals. And the units are called petals. So in the same way, so the corolla is the second and colored whorl of a flower. You can see in this beautiful picture, and all of you know that the flowers, the petals are brightly colored. Why they are brightly colored? To attract the insects for pollination. So as I said, the gamete transfer has to happen. So the pollen grains should come and fall on the stigmatic surface to facilitate a very important process called fertilization. And that is possible only when the insects come and carry on the process called pollination. So, simply the insects who don't visit a flower, if at all they are benefited, then they visit a flower. So, the benefit what they are going to get, or the reward what the insect is going to get, is the nectar. The sweet of a flower is called nectar. And, when they come and sit on the flower, obviously, the pollen grains stick to their legs, and when they visit another flower, so when they dust their body, or by chance the pollen grains fall on the stigmatic surface, and the process of pollination will take place, as you already know that. So for that reason, to attract the insects for pollination, the flowers are brightly colored, and the sweet scent, the sweet smell that the flower emits is also one means of attracting the insects for pollination. So the components of corolla, as I said, they are called petals, and in a similar way, the symbol what we write is C. For corolla, we write symbol C, and we use a word called gamopetalous. Same like calyx, gamopetalous and polypetalous. Here, when the petals are fused, here when the petals are free, I repeat, their calyx is the first whorl of a flower, and the units of calyx is called sepal. What do you mean by gamosepalous? When the sepals are fused, we call it as gamosepalous. When the sepals are free, we use a word called polysepalous. In a similar way, the second whorl of a flower is corolla, and the symbol is C. There the symbol is K. And when the petals are fused, we use a word called gamopetalous. And when the petals are free, we use a word called polypetalous. Same way, like here, as I said, polypetalous and gamopetalous. Hope you have understood the two very important parts of a flower, namely the calyx and corolla. So with respect to calyx and corolla, the arrangement of calyx and corolla with respect to each other is called estivation. Hope you remember, I keep telling that you need to write the floral formula, floral diagram, and how do you draw the floral diagram? It is based on this very important concept called estivation. What is estivation? Estivation is nothing but the pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals in a flower is called estivation. Not A-E-S-T-I-V-A-T-I-O-N. What is estivation? The pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals in a flower is called estivation. So you have understood what is calyx and what is corolla. Sometimes as I said, when you are not able to differentiate the calyx from corolla, we use the word called perianth. and the units of perianth are called tepals. This also you should understand. When both are not distinguishable, when calyx and corolla is not distinguishable, then you use a word called perianth. So that means you are not able to distinguish the calyx from corolla. It is called perianth, and the units of perianth is called tepals. Hope you have understood what is corolla, what is calyx, and what is aestivation. It is the mode of, or it is a pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals with respect to each other in a flower. In a flower, how the calyx and the corolla are arranged. In what pattern? That pattern is called as what? Aestivation. So now let us study what are the types of aestivation. Here you can see, as I said already, the corolla is the second and colored whorl of a flower, and the components of a corolla are called petals. A flower in which the petals are free is called as polypetalous and gamopetalous. And already I said what is aestivation? The pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals with each other. So you can see here in the beautiful picture the petals. This, right? So petals are what? It is the corolla, the second whorl, and the units are called. So what is aestivation? It is the pattern of mode of arrangement of sepals and petals with respect to each other. Now let us understand what are the types of aestivation. Types of aestivation. There are three types: valvate, twisted, and imbricate aestivation. What are the three types of aestivation? There is one more called vexillary. 4, that is vexillary aestivation. So what are the types of aestivation? What is aestivation? It is the pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals with respect to each other. What are the types of aestivation? First one is called valvate aestivation, second one is called twisted aestivation, third one is called imbricate aestivation, and the fourth one is called vexillary aestivation. This is very, very important from examination point of view. Dear first PUC students, make note of this point. As I said, this is asked for 3 marks. Describe what is aestivation, describe the types of aestivation with a neat label diagram. So this is a question which is definitely asked in the board exam. So make it sure that you learn the pattern. And not only that, only when you know to draw this valvate, twisted, and imbricate and vexillary aestivation, then only you will be able to draw the floral diagram. If not, you will not be able to draw the floral diagram. So what is aestivation? It is the pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals with respect to each other is called aestivation. And what are the types of aestivation? First one is called valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary aestivation. Now let us study one by one with a beautiful diagram. See here, you can see the beautiful diagram. So the first one is called valvate, and here this is called twisted, and this is called imbricate, and this is called vexillary. See what are the first one, second one, third one, and the fourth one. Here you can see in this beautiful diagram how the sepals and petals are arranged with respect to each other. See here you can see how the sepals are. Here you can see how they are arranged. So in total it is different. Now let us study one by one. So what is aestivation? Aestivation is nothing but the pattern of arrangement of sepals and petals with respect to each other. What are the 4 types of aestivation? Valvate aestivation, twisted aestivation, imbricate aestivation, and vexillary aestivation. Now we'll go for the first one. Here you can see in the first one called valvate aestivation, here the margins of the sepals and petals just touch each other. Here can you see? It is like a ring. They just touch each other. They don't overlap. What do you mean by overlap? One above the other. Such a type of aestivation is called valvate aestivation. So here the floral leaves, either calyx or corolla, are in contact with each other by their margin only without overlapping. For example, as you see in Calotropis. So the margins just touch each other, but they don't. What do you mean by overlap? Overlap means like this. This is called overlap. What do you mean by overlapping? One above the other. So here you can see there is no overlapping. Just the margins. I think you can make out the difference between this diagram and this diagram. Here the margins are just touching each other like a circle. but they don't overlap. Such a type of arrangement is called what? Valvate estivation. Here you can see the beautiful picture. As I said, you must learn to draw this diagram. So this is called valvate estivation. So here you can see that the margins are just touching each other. Now let us see what is twisted estivation. So what is twisted? Twisted is also called as what? Contorted. This is also called as what? Contorted. Contorted estivation. Now what is, can you make out the difference between this diagram and this diagram? Here you can see one margin is inside, one margin is outside. So it is like twisted form. So here you can see one is inside, one is outside. Right? So you can see like this. Like this you can see. Right? So this is called twisted estivation. So as I said, here the margins are just touching each other, but they are not overlapping. Here you can see the overlapping. One margin is inside here. Here you can see one margin is inside, one margin is outside. Here one margin is inside, one margin is outside. Here one margin is outside, one margin is inside. Here one inside, one outside. So it is in a twisted form. Such an arrangement is called twisted. So here when the one number of floral oral overlaps the next one, that is called twisted or contorted estivation. China rose, that is hibiscus. You know, hibiscus is also called as China rose, right? Hibiscus flower. It's a very common flower which you come across in everyday life. You can have a look at it, then you will understand how the arrangement of the calyx and corolla is, right? So hope you have understood what is valvate estivation. What is valvate estivation? So the remaining two in the next diagram you can see here. Here also you can see, right? In the next diagram you will see the picture. So what is valvate estivation? The floral leaves, either calyx or corolla, are in contact with each other by the margin, only without overlapping as in calotropis. So what is twisted or contorted estivation? When the one member of the floral oral overlaps the next one, it is called twisted estivation. So here you can see imbricate estivation. Out of 5 members, one is completely internal and one internal being overlapped by the adjacent member, and one is completely external overlapping the adjacent member. So the other 3 members are partially internal and partially external. I repeat, what is imbricate estivation? Out of 5 members, one is completely internal being overlapped by the adjacent members, and one is completely external overlapping the adjacent members. The other 3 members are partially internal and partially outside. So here you can see one is completely inside, one is completely, here you can see one is completely, this is outside and this is inside. So one is completely inside, one is completely outside, and the remaining 3 you can see one outside, one inside. So this is called what? So as I said, this is called valvate, this is twisted, this is imbricate, and this is vexillary. Here you can see the vexillary like this, right? So here what is vexillary estivation? When out of 5 members, one which faces the mother axis, that is the posterior member, is the largest and covers the 2 lateral members, which in turn covers the innermost 2 smaller members, as in pea. You know, as in pea plant. As in pea plant. This is wrong. Pea plant. So usually you come across this in leguminous plants. We use a word called pulses. Kannadadalli helbekandre kaalu, right? So usually the leguminous plants will have this vexillary. So what is this? In vexillary you can see one is the largest petal, and here in vexillary we have 5 petals. 5 petals. In that 5, one is called standard petal, and 2 are called as wing petal, and the remaining 2 are called as keel petals. And such type of flowers, it is called as papilionaceous. It is called papilionaceous corolla. So vexillary estivation will always have this papilionaceous corolla. Hope you have understood what is imbricate and twisted estivation. So what is imbricate estivation? Out of 5 members, one is, that is this picture and this picture. In these two already have explained. This is valvate, twisted, imbricate, and this is vexillary. So here imbricate is out of 5 members, one is completely internal being overlapped by the adjacent members, and one is completely external overlap. The other 3 members are partially internal and partially as in cassia. So what is vexillary estivation? When out of 5 members, one which faces the mother axis, that is the posterior one, is the largest, which is called as standard petal, and the remaining 2 are called as wing petals, and the remaining 2 are called as keel petals. As this is P, example in case of P. Moving on to the essential orals of a flower, that is the androecium. Already I explained what are the 2 very important essential orals of a flower. What are non-essential orals of a flower? Calyx and corolla. Why are they called non-essential orals? Because they don't take part directly in the process of reproduction, but indirectly help the process of reproduction. As we know, androecium and gynoecium are called as what? Essential orals of a flower. Why are they called as essential orals of a flower? Because they directly take part in the process of reproduction. So androecium and gynoecium are the essential orals of a flower, as they directly involve in sexual reproduction. Now let us understand what is androecium. And the symbol is A. As you know, it is a male reproductive structure of a flower which consists of numerous stamens, or called as microsporophylls. Each stamen, I think all of you know, here you can see each stamen consists of what? Filament and anther lobe. And here you can see this is the connective. This is the dorsal view and this is the ventral. So what are the 3 parts of a stamen? That is anther, connective, and filament. So what are the units of androecium called? Stamens. What are the units of calyx called? Sepals. What are the units of corolla called? Petals. What are the units of androecium called? Stamens. What is stamen made up of? 3 very important parts. Anther lobe. Here you can see the anther lobe, and this is the filament. Here you can see the connective, and this is the filament, the long stalk-like structure, right? Each stamen consists of a filament, then the anther and connective. The anther contains what? Pollen sacs or microsporangia, in which numerous pollen grains or microspores, we can call it as microspores, are present. So it is a male reproductive structure of a flower that consists of what? Numerous stamens. And what are the stamens made up of? Anther lobe, connective, and filament. Moving on to the adelphi. What do you mean by adelphi? Here you can see how there are different types of stamens you come across. No 2 flowers are similar. So each flower has a different type of stamen. So here the union or attachment of stamens is called adelphi. Based on that, we differentiate them into monoadelphous and diadelphous and polyadelphous. So one is monoadelphous, diadelphous, and polyadelphous. So here, what do you mean by mono? Adelphi means what? It is the union or attachment of a stamens is called adelphi. So what do you mean by monoadelphous? So monoadelphous, diadelphous. So here polyadelphous. Monoadelphous means what? All the stamens are attached, are clubbed into a bundle, into a single bundle, form one bundle. But the anthers are free. Here you can see the anthers are not fused. Here only the filaments are fused. Here the filaments are fused, but the anthers are free. Example, hibiscus. What do you mean by di? Di means what? 2. So here you can come across, suppose for example 10 stamens are there, 9 plus 1. So 9 in one bundle like this and one in one bundle. So it is called diadelphous. So here the filaments are united to form two bundles. I repeat, monoadelphous means all the stamens are united to form one bundle. Diadelphous means the stamens are united to form two bundles. More than two bundles, when the stamens are united to form more than two bundles, it is called polyadelphous. For example, in few plants, filaments are united to form more than two bundles and anthers remain. But one thing you should remember, the anthers are free. The anther lobes are free. Here you can see the anther lobes are free. Only the filaments, this is the filament and this is the anther lobe. Right. So hope you have understood what is adelphy. Adelphy is nothing but the union or attachment of stamens is called adelphy. Monoadelphous means what? Filaments are united to form one bundle. But the anthers are free. Example, hibiscus. What do you mean by diadelphous? Filaments are united to form two bundles and anthers remain free. Example, we can come across in P and B. Polyadelphous, in few plants, filaments are united to form more than two bundles. Example like cotton, lemon and castor. Hope you have understood all the concepts what I have explained in today's session. So this is a very, very important concept to understand from examination point of view. So I'll be back with some more very interesting concepts of this interesting chapter called Morphology of Flowering Plants. Till then, thank you.